एक कितनी की थे, मैं काम में जाना था तो वो, तो उसकी प्लेन 1 घंटे दे रहे, तो अब एक आ जाएगी तब उसके बाद आ जाएगी
ओके।
उसकी 7 लेन, तो 8:30 लेन होनी पड़ेगी.
દેવેન્દ્ર ભાઈ તમે હવે લાઈવ છો? ઓકે
હા, ઓકે, લાઈવ છો. ઓકે, મારું તે you recording set, ne?
હા
Okay, all the records
યુટ્યુબમાં
working out, ne? All the recordings
યસ
working out,
યસ
right?
યસ 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 યા
Okay,
યુટ્યુબમાં તમારું રેકોર્ડિંગ સ્ટાર્ટ થઈ ગયું છે.
all right. So I'll start in 2 minutes.
હમ.
Okay, thank
ઓકે
you.
ચલો
Yeah.
હા હા. હું છે ને તમને હોસ્ટ બનાવી દઉં છું પેલા. ઓકે હોસ્ટ. ઓકે ચલો હવે છે ને તમે હોસ્ટ છો. ઓકે દેવેન્દ્રભાઈ હવે
Thank
તમે
you.
હોસ્ટ છો એટલે હવે તમારે જેને કો હોસ્ટ ને બધું બનાવવાનું હોય ને તમે બનાવી શકશો.
Oh, somebody code બનાવી દો છું.
હા ઓકે ચલો હું મીટિંગ ને
ચાલો,
લીવ
okay,
કરું
thank
છું.
you.
ઓકે હા.
Okay.
देवेंद्र भाई आपने आपको आज जो है स्लाइड्स स्पॉटलाइट करेंगे?
स्पोर्ट नहीं करना, इसमें स्पोर्ट प्लान क्या है कि सब वो कुछ नहीं देख सकते हैं. स्पोर्टलाइट जरूर, स्पोर्टलाइट वही आपने योगा में किए थे ना, सैटरडे सूर्य के स्पोर्टलाइट किए थे, वो ओमकारिका योगा टीचर थी ना, उसके स्पॉटलाइट किए.
Jai Jinendra.
जैनेन्द्र जी, very good.
All good. Your blessings, grace of God.
Yes, we all rely on the grace of all that, Swamiji, and definitely
Absolutely. Swamiji as well.
Dev Guru Dharam Pasai, we say, because without that nothing works.
True. Agree.
Yeah, it's good though.
We have Surilji right on the call.
He wasn't on call. He had to. He gives another lecture same time, so he's off to his other lecture. He
Okay.
teaches a class twice a week. He's been teaching for years, or like a advanced Pachala class.
Okay. All right. I was
It's
asking him about, the number given for the Zelle to transfer the fees. That number was showing me for Ramesh Parmar. Is that correct or?
No, I'll give you another one. That's his private note, but I'll give you another one.
Sure.
I'll
Okay.
send it.
Perfect.
I'll
Thank you.
send it. I'll send it. No worries.
Thank you, sir.
I'll send you. They're just less moving around. Good. Everything probably gets started. Yep, it's 8 o'clock. Let's just get started. Good. So we're going to talk about, just 1 second. We're just playing with how this thing could settle. So let me just go back to the top. So generally, hang tight, I'm going to go to the top. All right. So today we're going to talk about the psychic colors, right? Lesha. So generally, we've been talking after before. So we're going back to where the schedule is, where I'll talk about the science, and then you'll get more of the talk on the application of that. So this is more going to talk about the scientific perspective, psychological perspective, and then Samaji will tomorrow talk about the actual meditation and the philosophical and the metaphysical benefit of psychic colors. So it's a big topic, so we'll break into two, and I'm sure it'll come up again and again. It's a very important topic, has some principles that are universal in there. So we're going to explore light, perception, and psychological effects in part 1, and then it'll be part 2. Okay. So generally, when we think of psychic colors, it's a bit beyond our world. We don't think of psychic colors in the way that perhaps the yogis saw, and of course in Jainism, it's important. Leshas are uniquely important in Jainism, but in general, I think psychic colors have a very Eastern view of how it affects us, and we experience it, but we don't understand it. So we'll go over that. So we'll talk about nature and properties of light and color perception, and object interaction. We'll color and astronomy and spectroscopy, just give an idea of the other side of color. Then the psychological and physiological effects of color in us or in general. Then we'll talk about aura. Aura is an interesting concept and characteristics, and what is aura, both in science, but also, of course, in Eastern philosophy. And then color therapy and healing practices, some practices that people are working on. And then it sort of touches on meditation, self-awareness, and visualization, which somebody's going to talk about tomorrow. Okay, so nature and properties of light and color. Well, the wave theory, right? So light has got this a dual theory. We call it obviously a wave, and we can call it a particle. The wave theory is the one that's more understandable, and it's electromagnetic wave and energy emitted by luminous objects that emit light based on atomic, if you change in electron sort of zone or level, and the color then comes and is perceived. So light is kind of visible, moving color, and then perceived. White light is composed of multiple pure colors that can appear white. So we know that with the prism. So nature of light in prism is there on the right. And so the white light source will affect the prism. And then you'll get this spectrum coming out, all of which we know very well. Different colors are labeled, and lots of rainbows and romantic movies, lots of things on those colors. The visual spectrum is what we focus on, from red to violet. It affects wavelength and frequency. So the wavelength and frequency are related, and they determine the wave. So it's a very simple thing. It's good to depend. Wavelength is the length of individual waves, and frequency is the frequency of the wave. So simple concepts, but good to kind of grasp them as we talk about this a little bit. Inverse relation wavelength frequency, they're inversely proportional. So red has the longest wavelength, yet it has the highest frequency, and violet has the shortest wavelength. So like that, lowest frequency and highest frequency. So it flips. So if you look at infrared waves on the left side, the visual spectrum, ultraviolet waves. So there's a range, and infrared goes to the left of visible, and ultraviolet goes to right to visible of the visual spectrum. We know about the visual spectrum, ranges from red to violet, mentioned, and then ultraviolet radiation is usually shorter than the visual, and infrared is longer than the visual. The length is shorter and longer, so that's what it's trying to show. And then the object color depends on light reflected or absorbed. So we'll talk about it a little bit. So sometimes objects have different colors for different reasons. And the interaction of objects is important. So based on how the light falls on the object and what the object absorbs, so the red will absorb all but red. So though we call it red, it's actually reflecting red. It actually isn't red. In a way, it's kind of bouncing red back to, so you call it red, because it can absorb the other one. With white, it doesn't absorb anything, so all come out. So white looks white. And with black, everything gets absorbed, and you don't see anything, so call it black. So it's a little bit paradox what we call red. It's reflecting red. So this is generally how we perceive colors, and then we call them red. But of course, it means that the light coming off that surface is red, and therefore it's red. Then there is objects of color of their own, and that's called luminescence. So objects will emit their own color. One is absorption and color, where they take the energy of the wave and then they transfer it back. And the color perception rises from the reflected light. The other is luminescent, where the substance absorbs the light, then changes and re-emits that, so luminescence. So you see luminescence here and there everywhere with light, with bioluminescence in, to Puerto Rico on this beautiful bays, you'll see this green luminescent organism. So basically they'll take the light, adjust it with a reaction, and then it comes out as luminescence. So it's a different color, usually green. And then your other ones like the fluorescence and phosphorescence, which are slightly different methods, same thing. They glow and some linger longer. So here's a plot for that. So it's quite complicated, like this phosphorescence, which is like fireworks sometimes use that, fluorescence, which you often in medicine or testing, or sometimes in tricks, so you can trace people if they're walking somewhere. And so different versions. Chemiluminescence, another version. We know the bioluminescence, and then of course radioluminescence, which is yet another version. So different versions. The light is quite intriguing, and it's a lot of patterns to that. What is the basis of color and vision we talked about? You have your star and spectral waves, color perception, and then you colors, red, yellow, and blue. So they can make all the colors that we see. And the primary colors we understand. And in astronomy, basically, the spectroscopy of light tells you where it comes from. Now we know how light's made, how it's bounced, what makes it based on the spectroscopy. You can go back and see which molecule made that light based on the structure of the molecule. So we'll touch on that a little bit. So color astronomy spectroscopy. So hydrogen has its own analysis. Helium has its own. Sodium has its own. Based on their structure and the electrons, how they move and what they can move, it emits light like that. So very specific. It's a specific thing for matter, particularly at atomic level. So based on that, if you see light from any star and you have the right tools, you can predict whether it's got mercury in it, it's got neon in it, all these things predict. So it's actually how you know which planets have carbon dioxide, which have diamond, a lot of things like that. This is one of the basic ways that we know. So clearly over distance, space, you can still sort of detect things, even though you use tools. The information is there and we can actually understand what's going on in that particular area. So light has that much importance. And of course, this extends to the non-visible section of light, X-ray. So you see all these Chandra, which is X-ray, all these different methods that they use in science to understand what's going on in the universe. You can understand it's based on this, and quite a lot is based on this. The other methods, but light is one of the main ones. So the foundation of astrophysics. All right, it's quite deep, universal, affects everything, it's everywhere, all matter, bounce off, light. So it's got this inherent part of the cosmos, right? So it should be important to us because we're part of the cosmos. We're made from the same material. So what happens with light and how does it affect our physiology, our mechanism? So on health and behavior, well, it's said, this is more an Eastern view, that colors influence conscious and subconscious minds profoundly and affect your personality behavior. Different colors affect vital signs like blood pressure, pulse, respiration, and brain activity. And we'll talk about science a little bit. It generally doesn't totally disagree. The photobiology and color therapy. So people are trying to use color therapy to diseases with colored light exposure. There's a lot of science and a lot of suggestions in this. We have to be careful, but certainly there's a whole process involved where light can affect and color therapy may have a role. And then blue and ultraviolet light treatments, which people use. Again, this is not something I would recommend because this, of course, old studies, we don't recommend ultraviolet light because it has its cancer risk. But the principle isn't that. The principle is that that light can affect, and in different situations, it's been shown to affect outcomes. So it's something that is important. In babies, when they're born, they're yellow. Jaundice of some number, that's why we check the blood work regularly. Then we'll either put them to face the sun. If we don't have the UV light, the sun also can help, but sun gets hot. Otherwise, we'll put a UV light. You may have seen it maybe, and the UV light will help, and then the skin change your bilirubin to the one that's easy to eradicate by your kidneys, comes out, and your levels drop. Otherwise, it can be toxic. So we know light has been used in therapy. We use light in certain ways, and photic lasers can be used in the eye. You know, when you do your vision changes, the laser eye stuff, but it's all light using. So light's very useful even in therapy. Many other roles of life. So generally, light does have causal association. So when you do a study and look see if light's impact, the color might have different meaning in a culture and has different influences. So for example, if you learn that I'm always happy because we see orange, because we live in Florida and oranges make me happy and oranges makes me happy. Well, great, for you, orange is happy, but somewhere else, orange may be the color of a rattlesnake, and then you learn to grow up that orange is dangerous. So orange may not care because you're now preparing for rattlesnake. So there's a little bit of cultural association to how light affects your mind and emotion, but it can. Likewise, emotional response, mood, based on personal experience. Memory triggers, sometimes light will trigger, for example, I was born in Uganda where the grass has got a sudden green color. And when I travel somewhere, I see that green color flash back to what I remembered as a child. So your response comes back and suddenly you feel like, oh, wow, this reminds me of when I was young. So, memory triggers are there. And then symbolic meaning, of course, and there's context to light. You sudden color, then it's a soccer team you follow and you think it represents that football team. So color we know has its meaning. Physiologically, there are more specific effects. Of course, light hits the retina and a certain amount of frequency lets us see, image, and visualize. So clearly, it's core to our Chakshara Kendra. Then the circadian rhythm. So we know that if you're in blue light, you can suppress your melatonin. So you won't get that nighttime effect. So light does have effect that we can see on your rhythm, the 24 rhythm. The eye strain, certain colors will fatigue your eye more than others. So, we can have a blue screen on this and that fatigues it less. And then nervous system, if you have arousal can be affected by light. So based on the light and brightness, and if you like the type of light, you're more aroused and less aroused, sleepy and awake. So clearly there is a well-known connection with light. And there's a zone of interaction where psychology and physiology meet. So my light, I'm feel is my psychology affects how my mood is and whether I'm going to pay attention or not, or I'm going to be irritable. So you can see how light is central to all of that. And then probably at some point it may trigger your stress hormone release, which then gives more biological changes. And sometimes because of your education learning or your link to the color, you may have just different response to the next person right next to you with the same light. Again, cultural, individual experience, not just cultural, individual experiences with that light can affect. So it's a complex thing, but important thing is it's a stimulus that has important role. And then we can leverage that perhaps. So there's some data on brain and physiology. We know that electromagnetic, which is, light is a electromagnetic wave, right? Affects the brain and physiology. We know that its energy can interact with glands, including endocrine and emotional response. We talked about the pineal gland and pituitary gland. There's a lot of mythology, or perhaps talk of how the pineal gland responds to light very particularly, and there are people who practice sun gazing, and that and probably pituitary, both glands are involved in allowing you to kind of be alert, get the benefits, and maybe even eat less because your caloric benefits of the light. Physiology we talked about. That studies show that with a certain light, your blood pressure can drop good percent. Your pulse can relax or reverse, and your respiration slow down. And again, this you can do even if somebody is not visually able to see, it still works. So it's clearly more than just sight. They can still have that impact. And then you can even influence your neurotransmitters, that's the ones that talk between your neurons or nerve to gland. We can induce melatonin. As you know, when it's dark, melatonin goes up. And then in the morning, when the melatonin is petering out and sunlight occurs and they're related, suddenly you wake up. And that's all light related. And then it'll affect your serotonin levels in the brain again. So that affects you in that same way. And then the aura is something that we will talk a little bit about next. It's a subtle energy field around living beings, and it simulates vitality and emotional states. Now, this is, again, a very Eastern concept, and it's deeply rooted. And we'll have to see what science has perhaps to relate to that. That'll be interesting. So anyway, this plot gives you the aura, the field. Aura is something that we're not quite there in science, but the waves certainly are. Transmitters, melatonin, so all this has been well documented, or has been perceived. So that's where we are. And we'll talk about some images of the aura and how they've taken images, and maybe that'll help us explain the aura from a measurable scientific sort of way. Good. So aura concept and characteristics. So there's a halo and an aura. So it's a definition thing. I don't know that really would worry too much, but just in literature, you read, a halo is a luminous circle around the head of saints and supreme beings. And that's something different. And this aura is electromagnetic energy enveloping surrounding every object, including objects that are not alive, table and other articles, as well as animal or animate beings. And this is a radiation energy, and it's kind of in the shape of the object. So the aura is living in its dynamic, bright energy, whereas the inanimate is dull and static. It cannot change, whether it's based on our beliefs and thoughts and feelings and how it can change. The aura changes based on that. And the perception, it is invisible to naked eye, but it reflects the physical, mental, and emotional state. And mostly experienced mystics and experts can detect that. But then you compare, they all detect the same thing. So it's clearly something they're detecting that is real. It's just a question of how do we understand that. So generally, when do you see aura? Well, I see those with deep relaxation, motionless, and very advanced meditation states. And they interpret aura, and this is from interpretations, and we'll learn more about this, but just give an overview. Purple is more spiritualism, then change to cult emotion, then green to intelligence, then towards orange health, yellow is health, and orange life status, and red. So the color has some meaning, and they can interpret that. Generally, knowing these colors and the organs that may be color sort of linked, that's where the color therapy insights come from. So that's something that we'll talk about in another talk. So that's aura. And then color therapy and healing practices. So where have been used? Well, in this manner for the body and for spiritual connection to the body, the idea is it restores balance by correcting color imbalances. And by doing so, you can cure illness. So we had balance in the other things. Remember, we had balance before, even in terms of the kapha and the pitta and the vayu. This is a balance in terms of color. So there are 7 colors in sunlight, and they're divided into 3 groups generally. Hot, which makes sense, is red, orange, and yellow. Cold is blue, indigo, and violet. And moderate is green. And group 1, which is the hot, treats cough and cold. Group 2, which is cold, treats heat-related diseases. And group 3, which is moderate, treats wind-related illnesses. And the preparation of color medicines is usually peculiar, but there's water in colored glass, it has to be glass bottles, and expose them to sunlight to create the water's ability. And then you can take a specific time of the day. So that's kind of the principle of that. Again, it's very hard for science to kind of study this, though I can imagine that based on the color, the light, based on the material of the bottle, light can have some impact. But beyond that, it's something that we'd have to study. But there's something very interesting. So in science, there's something called biophoton. What's a biophoton emissions? Well, it turns out we all emit light, and it's measurable by very special cameras. And they're called biophotons. They're understood now. They're probably like 15, 20 years has been work on this, more so in the last 10 years. Biophotons basically are photons, but they can also have a spectrum, like the colors that we talked about, rainbow colors. And over the course of the day, like in this particular example, it changes. Again, there's nothing specific the person's doing in trimech. I'm just sitting in the same position in each picture, doing the normal to come back. And so over the day, the where and how much release changes. It's interesting. The studies show very, very important findings that relate actually to aura, perhaps. They arise from chemical reactions, but not heat. So if I did a heat, you've seen a heat scan. This is not a heat scan. Heat scan is a temperature of the body. Different hot areas will see red, and that's a typical heat scan. This is not a heat scan. This is unrelated. This is what your body makes as photons. It's not heat. They're not hot. They're actually cold. It's just light coming out from your tissues, not heat because you're hot or infrared. This is actually visual light directly. And so in one study, they looked at blue light and increased emotional response to brain regions like the temporal cortex and hippocampus, very important areas for mood and control. And they enhanced connectivity between emotional processing centers. Another study, biophoton emission from the body, you can model by intent. It's a more slower change. So my intent is not an immediate change. It's a more slow change. And by my intent, by body practices in this particular study, you could change your biophoton emission. And you can change from specific body regions, sometimes aligning with intent, sometimes hard to control. And then it turns out the human brain emits biophotons. And they have the brightness, that one of the brightest area is the face and brain. And it's got rhythm, it's got specific rhythm, 10 to 1, between 1 to 10 per second is released. It's related to your cognitive activity and maybe your mood. So some work on that mood also. So very new stuff. This is very new stuff even for me. In humans, then, it's about 1,000 weaker than what the current human eye can see. Of course, over time, historically, in the real darkness, we had maybe the human eye, and some human eyes were more able to perceive. Also, if you stand yourself in the dark, then your biphoton emission increases. So clearly, there's response to darkness. So perhaps it was used in some ancestral way to kind of see you in the dark in some simplistic way. But it does. At the moment, it's quite light. It's rhythmic and direct, and most in the afternoon and the day. Your forehead, cheeks, and neck are the areas from which light is brightest. Nothing to do with heat. So when I do a heat map of your body, it's nothing to do with that. It's just separate. Heat map is hot, temperature, infrared kind of change. Neurons, we know now, can emit photons. So wondering if neurons are communicating some other way from each other. So there's a lot of work going on in that. And interestingly, the wavelengths of light, we talk about wavelength and frequency. The reason I talked about this, wavelengths have been shown to predict ages. So based on change in wavelengths, you can predict ages of plants and even humans. In the human hands, for example, in this one, you can see changes between ages. The Japanese have been leading this. The Kobayashi's, this group have been leading this. I think they've been doing for a while. Some Russians have been working on this, and then the Japanese have been moving the front. So they've been leading this field in a very hot area right now. And of course, it can affect your cognitive potential in studies they've done. And you can actually pick up difference between healthy and disease, including cancer. You can see different signals. So now devising tools, they're actually devising tools to try and use this medically and help us perhaps get other understanding. So very interesting. So conclusion then, science and cycles. Well, there's a lot more to come. Science is catching up. It's clear again that the yogis had some extraordinary abilities, and what they're saying is really there. I mean, how can I doubt it with the current movement inside? I think it's really there. How it works, how we harness it is what somebody's going to teach us, and we're going to practice. But I think there's a lot to this that even I'm understanding as I'm preparing these talks. Right. So physical properties life, we talked about human perception, psychology, we talked about some of this well known. Spiritual interpretation, we're going to spend more time with Samriji, and the holistic understanding will come together once we get the next talk. Good. So that's my talk for today. Anybody have any questions? This is time to ask. And we just on time. Perfect.
Devendra bhai.
Devendra,
Hey, so aura is also coming from inanimate objects too?
yeah. So so this is basically from the Eastern perspective, that any object can have an aura. I'm not sure we understand aura is from medicine, but biphoton is only living. The biphoton I talked about is only living, but every object does have electromagnetic, may have some degree of electromagnetic activity. So perhaps they're referring to that. So in the Eastern philosophy, you can sense dull aura of objects that are not living, but living will be vibrant and changing. So, yeah.
And aura is the same as your leishia?
Yeah, so now we'll talk more about the aura. Your leishia contributes to the aura. And so your bow will come out in your aura, and your aura can be seen by people perceive, and they can see your bow. You've all come across stories where somebody sees somebody who's a yogi and they'll walk away. And I've experienced that once. And the person they walked away from was indeed something to walk away from that I didn't realize until after a year or so after that happened. But I think that they can perceive this. We probably perceive, don't realize, I don't know, because some of these innate abilities you might have, you just don't recognize and harness, it may just occur. I think sometimes you can tell a person is not going to be a friendly person, maybe aura, maybe just other people, I don't know, facial expression, very hard to tell. But yeah, I think that aura does have really to leishia, yes. And leishia is interesting, two sides to leishia, some you'll cover, but yes.
Thank you.
Perhaps Manapariyaya Gyan is related to the aura.
Manapariyaya Gyan is directly reading your mind, but the question is, what's the tool? So you could be right. The tool is using maybe this, because your photons are supposed to come from your brain activity. So it could be, well, electromagnetic wave, and this is one of them, right? So clearly somehow you're reading your mind. So you're right. You can see a link now. It doesn't become magical. Now you can see a link that you could hypothesize and test and prove.
Right.
You could. It's interesting when you look at the this bio photons. The reason I knew that you have yeast, there's something, because I'm talking to yeast. When you grow yeast, they like to grow in communities, even though they're not touching each other, even early before even connect. And you can see these biophotons. You can see pictures and see biophotons. They actually use it almost like fuel. And if you put something to block the biophoton, just the biophoton, some screen or some sort of glass, they won't grow as well. So in plants, this is very big. Onions, original studies in onions. Onion roots were using biophotons. The original Russian work, which is legendary, was from onions. The person got the Stalin Award because of such important discovery. And the onions actually give nutrition to each other with biophotons. They can show that. So you want to look into this, really quite impressive work going on for the last little while. But it's a very, very universal. That's why it's universal. The universe, outside stars communicating with us. It's very integral. So you can imagine it must be very important. And if we can harness that, you can imagine how well we could leverage that to our spiritual goals. So I'm an open mind now. After reviewing this, when I do a talk, I review it. I say, my gosh, I've definitely got to open my mind. They're using it for, EEG to look at brain waves. They're using this biophotic encephalogram to assess the brain because you see stress and illness. So they're devising these machines even now. Papers on that, and so you get these machines where they actually look at the biophoton emission to understand what's going on, mood and perception. So it's literally being invented as we speak. So some preliminary data is pretty promising. So it's brand new wave. This is new wave. Everything about waves, new wave.
Right.
Yeah, fascinating.
How does the light detector work? Is that related to bioluminescence or?
That's to do with tension of skin. So when I lie, I'll tense. It's to direct tension, skin tension. So it picks up not this. Though, as Sheetal pointed out, probably if I could see aura, I could probably tell you're lying. But I'm not sure we're equipping can do that. Aura is difficult. Aura I have difficulty understanding fully because it probably is a composite of electromagnetic and this. It probably isn't just one. We all have electromagnetic persona. We do curly, magnets, So it may be linked, but aura probably a composite, probably not just one, I would think. But you can start believing it now, because if you have something coming out, you start believing that it's related to your nerve function, cellular function. My emotions go up, my cellular function changes. Right? Well, this is exactly that. These photons come from that. Your glutamate in your brain, as you metabolize, emits light. So I know how we're metabolizing. And in fact, because we metabolize glutamate so well, they think that's why we're so intelligent compared to other animals, because they don't do as much as we do. So there's another connection why we're so intelligent relative to, let's say, other primates, because we have far more glutamate and the photon production is higher. That's one theory that's being pursued that differentiates us. So it's interesting, very interesting area. I opened a whole can of worms looking at this, so very quite interesting. Good research. I'm talking about proper research. You'd appreciate. Good. Any other questions? So somebody should be back on.
Yes, I am here.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yes. So Sheetal was asking about Lesha. So yeah, it is Lesha meditation actually. The color meditation is Lesha meditation. So we have our own inner light of Tejas bioelectrical body which comes out of our body, and that is recognized as aura. And those impulses which are coming from the karmic body and also the purity of the soul, they are also mixing with the bioelectrical impulses and they are reflecting in different colors outside. So they are recognized as aura, or you can say Lesha. So what we are detecting outside, that is Dravya Lesha, and they also reflect or represent the internal state of our consciousness, which are known as Bhav Lesha. Mind reading knowledge doesn't have any connection with the color property in true sense. It is a mind reading. It means it is reading the thoughts or perceiving the thought images, mental images. Okay. So color can be seen. Yes, even we ordinary people can see the color which is emitting from our body. Okay, so it is not required there is no need of extrasensory perception just to see the colors of your body or of your aura. Even the common people can see the aura.
So Vandami, the soul emits aura through the body. Is that how it is?
Yes.
Or the body has its own color?
Actually, the color is related to our bioelectrical body as well as of the karmic body. The soul has no color.
Okay.
It has only consciousness, no?
Yes.
So the consciousness is being affected by the karmic body, then it is getting polluted and it is having some kind of negativities or impurities in it. And those impurities are being reflected through the color. How much impurities we are having inside, or how much purity we are having inside. So that is being reflected by different colors. And those colors are coming through a bioelectrical body, that is Tejas body. As soon as the consciousness or conscious activity or karmic impulses passes through bioelectrical body, they convert into electrical impulses. And they are we are perceiving them as different auras, color, because it is the light which has color, no? So at certain frequency, the light converts into color, and at certain frequency, the color converts into light.
Mm.
Clear?
Okay.
So color is being given by the bioelectrical body.
Okay.
And also the karmic body, okay?
Yes, Vandami.
So is that a correct interpretation? What is Pari is asking? Soul is pure consciousness. The color of your soul is a direct reflection of karmic depth. Yes. Okay, so the color is are being created, or the lashes are being created by the karmic body. And if you have lesser impact of the karmic body, or negative, lesser negative, no negative impact of the karmic body on your consciousness, then your aura becomes more stronger, more effective, having very good colors in that. Okay. And if there is some an adverse effect of the karmic body, especially of Mohini karma on our consciousness, then it is getting impure, having all negative emotions or impurities, and those impurities are being converted by the bioelectrical body in the form of the auras or light, so that we are perceiving that, oh, the aura is not brighter, it is a very fade, or having all bad different colors. So it is because of the impurities inside. So Lesha meditation is practiced especially to purify your aura by changing the internal state of your consciousness. If your consciousness is pure, the aura would automatically be brighter and effective and strong. If the internal state is impure, automatically the aura will have bad colors in it, negative effect. Okay, so now we will meditate. Today I have released one new meditation that is perception or body for this particular week. And I have already said from very beginning that whenever you are practicing meditation, please submit your feedback so that we could come to know how these meditations are working in the case of different people. Okay, of different age, different countries. So that's why it is being said all the times. And I also give the feedback as an assignment to the students or participants, so that they can be more serious about the practice and can also see that how these meditations or physical exercise or breathing exercise are working in his case especially, or her case. So please submit your experience after a week. Just you have to meditate one week. All the meditations you cannot practice every day. You have not that much time. All the exercise you cannot do every day. But if you are practicing one exercise for a week, just you have to give about that exercise, feedback about that exercise. If you are practicing meditation, just to give feedback about that meditation. so that we could come to know that it is working in your case, or is there any difficulty in following, or should we change some kind of meditation which is suitable for you. So now I will give a start session of meditation. So last time we were practicing perception of psychic centers, and before we were practicing perception of psychic body. So for this week, I have given meditation, perception of body. Just you have to scan your body. You need not to do anything. Just to lie down, relax, and then see the body from within, each and every part. Give some time, at least 10 seconds or 5 seconds, to see each and every part, each and every neurons, etc., and see how body is working from within, where is the problem in the body, or everything is going on normal, or are you going into some deeper, transcending this physical body and going to some subtle bodies. So what kind of experience you are getting by practice of 1 week, just you have to submit that. So today, which meditation would you like to practice? Color meditation or psychic centers, perception of psychic centers? Last time we have done. So sit in comfortable posture.
So
Keep both the hands.
perception of psychic center, is that what you're doing today?
Yes,
Okay.
because nobody said which meditation she or he would prefer, but
Sure.
somehow we have to practice our current meditation which we are discussing. So tomorrow we will practice perception of psychic colors, but today we will continue the same which we practiced last time. Okay, so sit in comfortable posture. Keep both the hands in the posture of knowledge. On the knees, facing upward sky. Keep your backbone and neck straight, body relaxed. Close your eyes softly. Recite the Mahapran sound for 5 times. Take long and deep breath and recite the sound. Through Zoom, if I recite, it will break down. So I'm not reciting, but you have to recite at your end. So just recite 5 times and then we will start meditation. Now relax your whole body, mind and vocal cord. Concentrate your mind on the big toe of your right leg. See each and every part up to the head. Using auto-suggestion to be relaxed. 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 Now concentrate your mind at the bottom of your big bone, which is known as center of energy or Mooladhara Chakra. Concentrate your mind and feel the energy of the center. Vibrations of the center. Now concentrate your mind in between the bottom of your backbone and the navel. There is another chakra which is known as Swadhisthana chakra or center of health. This is the place where we can get good health. This place is free from all toxins, toxic gases. Concentrate in the middle of the center of energy and the center of light. Feel the vibrations. Now concentrate your mind on the navel, in the backbone, in the line of the navel. The center of light is situated in the straight line of the navel in the backbone. Now concentrate your mind on the center of bliss situated near the heart, the place of the thymus gland. This gland is very active in the childhood, and that's why the child looks happy, smiling. By perception of the psychic center of bliss, we can again awaken the blissful nature, activate the blissful nature. See the center of bliss situated near the thymus gland or heart. Just you have to perceive to activate the center. Now concentrate in the throat, in the center of the throat, the place of thyroid and parathyroid. It is the center of purity. We can control metabolism, the function of thyroid and parathyroid by perception of this center. We can transcend our conscious mind and can enter into thoughtless state. Now concentrate your mind on the tip of your tongue, which is Brahma Kendra, the center of celibacy. Tasty and spicy food makes our emotions hyper. By concentrating on this part of tongue, you can get victory on your lust of tasty foods and can develop celibacy. Now concentrate on the tip of your nose, which is the psychic center of energy. To increase the energy. The center is very important. Oxygen is the source of great energy for the body. Oxygen enters through nose. To discipline the breathing, to control respiratory system. The center is important. Now concentrate on both the ears. The center of vigilance. Vigilance is the means to achieve great success in life, in any field. To get rid of any addictions, the center is very important. Concentrate on both the ears and see the power of vigilance is increasing. You are becoming more alert, free from all addictions. Now concentrate on both the eyes. Our consciousness is concentrated in the eyes. And therefore we are able to see the things, the world. Concentrate on the eyes to increase the power of vision. Feel the vibration of your consciousness, soul working through eyes. Now concentrate in the center of the eyebrows, the center of intuition, darshan kendra, agya chakra, the place of pituitary gland. To know the past, present, and future. To develop third eye, sixth sense. This is the center. which can be activated just by mere perception. Start perceiving in between the eyebrows. See the energy of the center. Now concentrate your mind in the center of your forehead, the place of the pineal gland. To pacify all aggressive emotions, the center is very important. To have mental peace, inner peace, calmness, and coolness of the mind. Perceive this center, center of enlightenment, Jyoti Kendra. It is news chakra and praksha meditation system. Now concentrate on the hypothalamus, on the frontal part of your head, which is known as Shanti Kendra, psychic center of peace, to control emotions, thoughts. This center is very important. Hypothalamus is the part of the limbic system of our brain. Now concentrate on the last center and very important center, that is center of knowledge, Agya Chakra, located on the top of your head or in the center of your brain. All extrasensory perceptions, higher consciousness, awaken from this particular part. Awakening of this center makes a human being a divine soul. Keep your body stable. Body should be completely stable and relaxed. So we have traveled all the psychic centers of our body, which are active places of our higher consciousness, as well as they are important points of our body where endocrine glands are active, located. Now, with 2 long breaths, we would conclude our meditation. Make 2 Mahapran sound. Conclude your meditation. Keep both the hands on the eyes and slowly open your eyes, feeling freshness, energy, and a spiritual awakening. So now the centers are coming in your knowledge. And when we meditate on each center, we can see that which center is more active in my body, especially from the upper centers. So you can concentrate on that active center so that you can go into deep to that particular center. Okay, so anything? Anybody wants to know? So we can leave now if nobody has a question.
Andami Namaswami. Thank you, Samniji. This is really
Yes.
helpful today. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Vandami naman sa
Ang dami naman sa amin, Samniji. Kutagos.
Now we are leaving.
Dami naman sabi sa
Ang dami naman sa-
Yes.